just too much. I can't afford it. I wouldn't be able to stay debt-free, and that's number one on the list, remaining debt-free. Hello world, thanks for joining me today. Had a storm come through earlier today, late last night, so I wasn't able to go out to the community garden and volunteer. So instead, since it's so nice and cool outside, I thought I would bring Buckshot out for a walk and take you along with me, and we could talk about buying property. We're around one of the high schools, so there's a lot of people on the jogging trail here, but it's one of Buckshot's favorite places to walk, so excuse all of the different distractions. I've been on this journey for several years before I started documenting it on my channel, and I've thought quite a bit about buying land. Early on, I really thought that I wanted more than 20 acres. That was kind of like my, I don't know, my desire, my cutoff, I don't know, kind of a qualification. But I really didn't know how much you could actually grow on a little quarter-acre lot. So I've really kind of set things, put things into perspective, and thought quite a bit more on exactly what I'm going to do with the land and what it's going to take to be successful. Now that I've thought about it quite a bit more, I realized that 20 acres is a lot of land, and while I would eventually find something to do with it, hopefully it would have quite a bit of lumber on it, you know, some trees that we could eventually turn into boards or, you know, some other kind of lumber, sell. It's just too much. I can't afford it. I wouldn't be able to stay debt-free, and that's number one on the list, remaining debt-free. So what are some of the requirements that I have for buying land? I need it to be unrestricted or with very limited restrictions, because I definitely want to have chickens, and I plan on having at least some pigs. So definitely not going to be able to do that in anything with homeowners association restrictions. I also want quiet. I really don't want all of the different noises that come along with having neighbors really close, you know, working on cars or other types of construction. I would really like to limit the amount of construction that happens around me. So some of the places I've been looking for are adjacent to things like state parks, where I can be guaranteed that they're not going to be building a big apartment complex or adding a big freeway extension or something like that around it. So when it comes to size, I've really kind of brought myself down to about 5 acres. It would be great to have 7 to 10, 15 max. I wouldn't be looking for anything more than 15 unless it was some just crazy good deal. I mean, under the right circumstances, yeah, cool, okay, I'd take more. But generally, I've kind of settled for, you know, searches that are around 5 acres. Some other things I've been thinking about quite a bit. While I could afford a lot more land by buying undeveloped property, I've learned from other homestead YouTube channels that it's going to cost quite a bit to do things like put in a septic tank and dig a well. I mean, one of the things that really scares me is trying to dig a well, because it's so potluck, especially, you know, since I've been thinking quite a bit about where I would buy property, and some of my choices, my top choices, are in places where there are aquifers, but it's hilly, it's hill country, and sometimes water can be a little scarce. There's been lots of erosion, and it's hard to find water. Now, as you could probably guess, I won't be leaving the great state of Texas. If you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I don't plan on leaving Texas. For those of you who know Texas, I would love to live in the Texas Hill Country, but land is so expensive there. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to afford it, so I've been branching out, looking in a lot of other places. Some other things that I think about quite a bit are the fact that I am not the youngest man in the world anymore, and my parents are getting older, and there may come a time when I'm going to need to help them out. I don't want to find that there's a 4 or 5 hour drive to get back to family if they need me. So I'm really considering what's the drive time back to them. I haven't been thinking much about mineral rights. Of course, that would be great if I could get mineral rights, but not a requirement. I would prefer to have the opportunity to find that electricity is easy to get, or there's already a well on the property, or maybe even some kind of municipal water is near the property and can be easily hooked up. All those things would be great. Of course, good land, good soil is definitely a benefit. I'm not sure that I'm actually going to go out to different places and sample soil before I make a decision, but definitely be thinking about it. And we'll look around at what things are growing there at the time, how much cedar and undesirable trees, overgrown areas that might not be something that well, there's not much that goats and pigs won't eat, so I guess that's kind of a moot point. But definitely strive to get good soil. Good access will be important as well. I want to make sure that if I do have to bring in heavy equipment, or I need to bring in some gravel for a drive, or some kind of other heavy equipment that needs to come in, that they're going to have an easy time getting into the property, and it's not like some really close 90-degree turn or something where it's difficult for trucks to come in. Let's go. Lead the way. You're such a good boy. Who's the best? Tell him. That was your inside voice. You got the other dog stirred up. Having some wooded areas is going to be really important for me as well. Like I said, I would really like to have pigs, and of course they don't sweat and they need shade. It's really hot here in Texas a lot of the year, unless you're up in the panhandle, the far north. So having some shade is really important, as well as being able to harvest lumber. It would be great to be able to get lumber right off the property, have a sawmill, portable sawmill, and some a wood chipper to get wood chips for the garden. If I could find a place that already has some outbuildings, that would be great too. I definitely want to go with a more Joel Salatin style permaculture, mobile everything. So physical structures aren't such a big deal to me in some regard, but having some outbuildings already available would still be great. I mean, especially when it comes to things like water harvesting. Having a few roofs there would be awesome. Not having to build any kind of chicken coops or something like the Holler Homestead did day one would be awesome as well. If I could find some place that's close enough to a town that's kind of exciting, that would be awesome. I really enjoyed playing my banjo. I play old-time banjo. I really enjoyed playing in Lukenbach. So, thinking about how cool it would be to be close to a town that has things going on, that I could visit when I'm, have a moment that's not a far drive, or, if you need a good grocery store, or you need to get some supplies, you're not having to drive an hour away to go get it. I know a lot of homestead channels talk about how they're having to go into town to upload their videos. So imagine how that would be if there wasn't a place that had a hotspot, you know, a little coffee shop or something, and you had to drive a long way because you couldn't afford decent internet access, living debt-free, or you know, you only had satellite available or cell service or something like that, and you were trying to upload like a 5 gig video or something, that would be awful. Another thing I think about, but may not be necessarily a requirement, is in regards to having places nearby, is farmers markets. If I do decide to try to sell, you know, some herbs or greens or whatever it is, eggs, then, you know, having some place close by that's really active would be great. If I do end up like with a market garden, then of course it's really important to have those restaurants and things in the area. Another thing I consider is taxes. Ag exemptions are really important in getting, you know, driving costs down, and you know, raising bees is one thing, or having an apiary is one thing that you can do in Texas to have an ag extension or ag exemption, but there are other ways to do it. You can even use recreational hunting as an ag exemption. Look at this amazing sky over here. It's gonna storm later, but these clouds are just looking so cool here as it reaches dusk. So pretty. And it's nice to have rain while we can. All right, come on. So what are some things that you think are important when considering buying land for homesteading? Please, I hope that you'll leave a comment down below. I'm hoping to learn from you guys. That's why my channel is really about connecting with you as the community. In case you haven't seen any of my previous videos, my name is Mickey. I live with my dog Buckshot in the great state of Texas, and this is my homestead journey. I'm just beginning the journey, so you're really getting in right at the beginning of the story. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you'll like this video, make a comment, and subscribe. Check back again and follow along. So that's it for this video. Thanks for joining me. I hope you'll leave some comments below and let me know what you think about buying property for homesteading. And don't forget, happiness is the new wealth. Ready to go? Tell me. Tell me. Tell me. Sit. Sit. You're so funny. Tell me. Yeah? All right.